Merci beaucoup, Mohammed, for inviting me to this event. This is my first time, not to Paris, but speaking at this event, speaking professionally in France. I've had the luxury of giving presentations in 19 different countries. This makes 20 in the last 12 or 13 years. So I'm very, very happy to be here. And like Joel said, I didn't pay attention as a child to learn French, and I'm happy to be here even though it's raining. So let's get to it. All right, here we go. So let's talk about this idea of human versus machine, and what does that mean for the future of B2B content marketing. Joel showed a great slide showing the time frame for adoption. These are very interesting times, I think, that we're in. And I don't know how many people here were in B2B marketing before the internet. Yes, I'm that old. But it took 25 years, starting in the 1950s, to actually launch the internet itself. It took 10 years for humans to land on the moon. It took 2 weeks to launch ChatGPT, and it took 60 seconds to make this image using Midjourney, right? Make an old-style computer. These are very interesting times. And I think they're also an interesting time of friction. So, you know, I think we can all relate to the idea that we're expected to do more with less as B2B marketers. We're expected to make more content with the same or less budget. And at the same time, there's an expectation that we've got to personalize that content. We've got to make that content higher quality. So this idea of we've got to make more higher quality content and we've got to do it at scale is a tough problem to solve, right? And a lot of evangelists out there in the world of technology and marketing are thinking, well, what's the solution? Perhaps it's AI, or more specifically, it is generative AI. And the thing that represents generative AI for most people is this application called ChatGPT. And it's sort of a revolution for those of us who are very invested in the technology, invested in more so solving the problem of how do you scale high quality content, right? A study by McKinsey shared that 90% of B2B marketers expect to be using generative AI tools often over the next 2 years. And for those that are already using AI tools or generative AI tools, they're seeing a 3 to 15% revenue lift and 10 to 20% increase in sales ROI. And more platforms are integrating generative AI, so natural language input to get done what you want done, that we're all familiar with. Systems like Adobe, Microsoft, and LinkedIn, even Google. And at the same time, there's thankfully some effort to govern this wild west of artificial intelligence that's being put upon all of us through all these different applications. So I asked the question, can we believe all this hype? Is this idea of generative AI and artificial intelligence as significant as the advent of the internet itself, right? And I think to answer that question, we have to look at the Gartner hype cycle. I don't know if you've seen this before, but you have something like QR codes or NFTs, right? Trigger a lot of momentum and get up to the peak of inflated expectations, right? It can do everything. It's magic. It's going to solve all of our problems. And then, of course, reality sets in and we hit the trough of disillusionment and the dust settles. And emerging out of that, if the thing survives, is this area of slope of enlightenment, and ultimately it becomes part of what we do in the plateau of productivity. So where is generative AI in this model? And according to Gartner, we're in the peak of inflated expectations, right? People are talking about AI, generative AI, as if it's going to solve all of our problems. And the reality is that it's going to be something a little bit different as we go. So we know that AI is not magic, right? It's not magic. And the reality is it's not going to replace us as marketers, but it is going to do some pretty incredible things to accelerate our ability to solve that problem of creating high-quality content at scale. And another thing that's happening concurrent to this technology is that B2B content is evolving. It's transforming. And Joel talked about some of these things a little bit where, back in the day, B2B content was about just telling people what we thought they needed to know, right? Just giving facts, giving information to our prospects, evolving to creating some utility in our content. How do things work? How does this make sense? Just a little bit of empathy with the customer. Evolving to now where the minimum expectation is that content is personalized, right? What does it mean to me, thinks the prospect, right? That's what we've got to go out with, and generative AI will play a very important role in that. So through all this, there's a lot of important questions that I'm going to try and answer in the rest of my presentation. The first of which is, what does generative AI specifically actually mean to a B2B marketer? And what are some of the use cases as it relates specifically to content marketing? And how do we balance? What does a human do? What role does the AI technology play? And is it really going to, or can it replace humans in B2B? So, what does it mean for B2B marketers? The first thing I would share with you is that Gen AI, like money, it only makes you more of what you already are, right? So if you're coming into the situation, maybe not you, but someone you know, is coming into the situation without a lot of brilliant ideas, without deep expertise in marketing, basically a lack of imagination and creativity, guess what? You run that through an AI system, you're just going to get crappy content, right? It just makes you more of what you already are. So conversely, if you are already quite skilled and imaginative and curious, and creative about how you view marketing, and you run some of your processes through AI systems, then you're going to result in subsequently brilliant marketing, right? So think of it as an accelerant, not as a replacement. And the manifestation of that interaction between people and systems like a generative AI platform is the prompt, right? So I could type something into Midjourney. Midjourney is a graphics generator Gen AI system. So I want to see a digital art piece of a robot holding a bouquet of flowers in front of the Eiffel Tower. And yeah, that's what it did. It gave me what I asked for, right? And the art's pretty detailed, pretty awesome. I could have used it. But if I just give it something like, I want to see a group of smiling astronauts. Well, technically, that's a group of smiling astronauts, but they look like the kind of astronauts are going to cut me apart and eat me for dinner, right? Pretty scary. So I had to make some modifications to my prompt in order to get something that's a little closer to what I was thinking about, right? So the prompt and the ability to master the prompt is absolutely crucial when you're thinking about how to use these natural language input tools. And if you're not an expert at prompt engineering, you don't want to pay $300,000 US for a prompt engineer to add to your team, you can go to resources like PromptBase, which are libraries of prompts that you can pop into graphics generators, text generators, or whatever, right? Other folks are out there experimenting and finding out what actually works, so you can go there and you can pay $1.99, $2.99, or €1, whatever, to get it. There are also free resources from reputable sources, like HubSpot's curated 190 of them, Influencer Marketing Hub, 50 of them, and this other site over 100. So you just have to Google it, and you can find lots of folks who've already done some of the hard work to construct these prompts. But what's important is that you experiment, that you try. And think about it this way. Gen AI is a tool, but a tool is only as effective as the expertise of the person using it, right? So master the prompt, right? It's super important that you master the prompt. And there are multiple types of tools like this that are going to have impact for us as B2B marketers. There are the visual generators, image generators, video generators, design generators, right? There are audio generators like voice generators, your voice or somebody else's. music generators, podcast tools, like Adobe has a really cool podcast tool that like we could record a podcast in a noisy room and it'll automatically clean up all that background noise for you. Text generators, so chat tools like ChatGPT, text language old-fashioned, I guess you would say in the scheme of AI, language generators that take tabular data from a spreadsheet and can construct sports scores, or a lot of news sites do this, right? Or financial sites do this with stocks and whatever. They automatically create that content. And then there's code generators. So you want to complete some code. You want to generate some code just by putting in text inputs, right? I'll share some examples. So I don't know how many folks have played with GPT-4 or GPT 3.5, but this is sort of the interface. Now you can just ask it a question, it'll give you an answer. But if you give it context, it'll mean a lot more, right? So I say my company is a certain company, here's what we do, here's the kind of influencers on buyers for us. Now please give me some advice on what kind of campaigns might I run, what kind of marketing should I do to get the best results, right? You can also go to GPT and give it really detailed information about who your customer is, and ask GPT to be your customer. And then you can respond by asking it questions as if it is your customer to get insight into what you might do to best market to that customer. There's a lot of clever ways beyond just this sort of search engine context for interacting with GPT. There are fun things for like Runway ML, allows you to pop up an image and then you can combine that with video to create some really crazy outputs, and also Runway ML offers text to video. So you literally just type in some text and it'll generate a short form video, kind of like a GIF. You're not going to be able to give it a few sentences of text and it'll produce a 3-minute video for you just yet. That's a lot of processing power, but that's the direction where we're going. And we can also do some fun things with a tool called Synthesia, which is it's an avatar. I don't know if you've heard of Synthesia before. They just received some additional funding. Now they're worth $1 billion. They're only 6 years old, right? So this platform is avatars, right? Avatars where you just give it text and the avatar will speak the text for you. And you can even have it, you can give it, I think it's $1,000 US, and you give them a 15-minute high-resolution video of you, and then they'll make you an avatar. And then your team doesn't need you anymore. You can just do training videos by them giving text scripts, which you could probably generate in ChatGPT. So here's an example.
Hello, attendees of B2B Summit. I have a pretty good idea what you're thinking. Will artificial intelligence replace humans in business-to-business marketing? Listen to this presentation by Lee Odin, and he will explain everything you need to know.
And you can do this in like 45 different languages, right?
J'ai une assez bonne idée de ce que vous pensez. L'intelligence artificielle remplacera-t-elle les humains dans le marketing interne?
Yeah, enough of that. It's pretty interesting. I'm sorry if I butchered what she was saying. But of course, as Joel mentioned, Adobe has made an all-in investment on AI. Now, they are already incorporated AI into their platforms to make it easier to do things, but they've added the Firefly capability, so you can put in natural language, you can put in text to get Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign to do what you want it to do. And I was at Summit in the US and had an opportunity to attend some sort of interviews with the CIO of Adobe and talked about some of the capabilities, and it really is actually pretty incredible. And then there's things like what Coca-Cola did here. And I like what Brian says here. It was inevitable, right? It's inevitable that marketers are going to use these technologies to create experiences like this. B2B doesn't have to stand for boring to boring, okay? We can learn some things from our friends over in the B2C world, and we can use technologies like Stable Diffusion and text to image and other types of generative AI platforms to visualize and output experiences like this, which I think are pretty cool. So what are some use cases, right? What are some use cases for using Gen AI for B2B marketing, B2B content marketing specifically, and really any content you can create? But I'd say it leans heavily on the planning side and the analysis side. Because to be honest, if you go and use a Gen AI platform to create an article or blog post for you, it's going to be meh. You know, it's going to be like this junior associate that you hired, you know, a year out of university. Maybe that's what it's going to be. So you're not going to win any awards out of that. But strategy and planning, ideation, when you give the platform context, when you give it information about who you're after, what is it that you do, what problems are you trying to solve, you can literally have a conversation that can add up to really great insights, some of which will only validate what you're already thinking, and some of which might be things you missed and didn't include. And then you can get all the way into the tactics. You can do SEO stuff, you can write ads, you can do email, scripts for podcasts, and even some content analysis for plagiarism checking or analysis for effectiveness. And when you look at other companies that are B2B companies specifically that are actually implementing generative AI in what it is that they do, you see speed come up a lot as a benefit, right? In the case of Mike Maxinoff at Belkins, he's saying our team primarily uses AI tools to generate ideas and content outlines. They really help reduce the workload and speed up the process. Yeah. In the case of cyber, they were using Synthesia, that platform I just shared the video with you, and they had one of their own employees cloned, if you will. They had an avatar made of her, and so they were able to do videos 2 times as fast and get into market a lot quicker. And they were using these kinds of videos as part of their marketing strategy, and it had that kind of benefit. Or in the case of this fine report from B2B Marketing, which has 5 case studies about how B2B companies are using AI, there's a particular example from VMware that was using Acrolinks, which is a content marketing content platform that uses AI in its platform. 73% of those people who used it say that it's helped them improve the quality, and 60% said it made them more efficient. So higher quality, more efficiency, faster. These are the attributes you're seeing or hearing about when people are using these tools effectively. So how do we balance the human and the AI combination, right? AI is pretty powerful, but there are some areas where it's just not going to play, at least not right now. And those are in the areas that humans uniquely are capable: creativity, strategic thinking, emotions, building relationships. And I'm going to share an example with you of a B2B marketing campaign that emphasizes these attributes. So this is a project from Smartsheet. I don't know if you're familiar with Smartsheet and Microsoft Teams. So the idea is that Smartsheet wanted to, and Microsoft Teams as well, wanted to increase the number of implementations of Microsoft Teams with Smartsheet users. And of course, Microsoft Teams is all about collaboration and working with other people. And you know, to effectively work with other people, you've got to maybe understand their work styles, have some empathy with, what are your preferences, what are my preferences, how we can kind of meet in the middle, how can we work more effectively, how can we use technology to do this. So the objective was to engage the community of folks that are using the platform and give them a story that they could sink their teeth into. So the story was how to collaborate more effectively by understanding the work styles of your coworkers and using a metaphor of fruit or fruitful work, right? So we identified these 4 different work styles. So pomegranate, a painstaking pomegranate, you can get an idea of what that person's like, or the gifted grapes, aloof avocado, and so forth. What work style are you? What fruit are you? Literally sending out little lapel pin things out to influencers to get their attention. So who are the community involved here? First thing was to obviously architect the campaign and what the styles were, but then to go out to people that customers are actually listening to, industry experts, right? And to invite them to be a part of this conversation of advocating for the value of understanding your coworkers, right? How can we work better together? And then also activating employees, and inviting people to drive conversations out there through social media, inviting their networks to have conversations about this as well. So this is a multi-phase effort, right? The first phase was about warming the relationship with industry experts, warming up internal employees and existing customers to this idea of understanding the value of working together and understanding work relationships and the work styles. Phase 2 was reaching out to people, inviting them to actually create content, creating brand content. And phase 3 was about publishing that content and activating communities to drive those conversations. So this was about emotion, people understanding their work style, sharing it with other people, and having a conversation about that. It was about a powerful story that drives all that, was the red line narrative that drove that, connected all that together. And then about the relationships built with the people in the industry that customers are actually paying attention to, right? Because they're ignoring ads. They're ignoring a lot of other things that the marketing team is putting out. But they are paying attention to people that they trust and that they respect. And as a result, from that one campaign, there was a 30% increase in Microsoft Teams activations, right? So was AI used in this particular example? No, it wasn't. Could it have been? Yes, absolutely. It could have been used with, creating graphics, creating videos, creating messages, social messages, and so on and so forth. And so it's an opportunity. So humans can build trust in relationships, right? AI can't do that. It's unlikely that it's ever going to do that effectively. So that's a really important distinction, or it's a really important perspective to have when trying to understand, where do I fit in, where do the people fit in when it comes to using these kinds of technologies. Now, there are some really low-hanging fruit, no pun intended, opportunities to use ChatGPT with B2B marketing content, especially with SEO. Everything from keyword research to content ideation, content clusters, also content drafting, like first drafts and abstracts of content. Also with content optimization, where should we put the words on the pages, and even doing link research. And of course, you can use it for analyzing analytics and using Google Analytics data to source new content opportunities. So, how about when Gen AI replaces us, or will it replace us? I love what Alicia Deitch says here from AT&T. Customers are looking for brands to meet them where they are and nurture meaningful emotional relationships. And if you look back long enough in B2B, that's what B2B marketing was all about. It was about building relationships with your customers. And then technology, the MarTech, the MarTech shock graphic, right, of 10,000, 13,000. So technology got in our way. And I think we have to think about the value of building those relationships. We can use technology to facilitate those relationships, but we can't forget that it's a human-to-human endeavor, this thing we call B2B. Gen AI, I'll learn to say that right yet. Gen AI is not going to replace you, but someone who knows how to use it probably will. So I highly encourage you to master the prompt. So why I do think, even though I am leaning on the humanistic side of things, I do think Gen AI, generative AI, is the future of B2B content. Why? Because it's faster. It's going to help you do so many things so much more quickly. And it's going to help you do things like personalization so much better. And that intersection of what we're challenged to do in this economic environment of lower budgets, do more with less, environment of scaling high quality content, means we're going to need a technology solution like this in order to make that happen. So I challenge you to start experimenting right now if you haven't already. Experiment with different tools. Certainly ChatGPT, I highly recommend, and Midjourney. Midjourney's a bit geeky. You've got to have a Discord account first, and then you go ahead and sign up for Midjourney. But the graphics that Midjourney creates just out of the box with minimal prompts is insane, is absolutely insane. So definitely check it out. That's my company's Top Rank Marketing. We do really cool stuff for these brands, yada, yada. All right, takeaways. Remember, AI makes you more of what you already are. So if your problem is about your capability, your vision, your imagination as a marketer, maybe solve for that first before expecting AI to take you to the next level, right? And while there are a lot of characterizations of AI benefits, Gen AI benefits as speed and faster, that's not enough, right? Efficiency is fine, but it doesn't mean anything if customers aren't buying, right? So you've got to look at both speed and effectiveness to determine the ROI of your generative AI. And again, of course, it's not going to replace anybody. Well, maybe it's going to replace that social media intern for writing social messages that you have to edit anyway, but you probably would have fired them. So replace them with, sorry, did I say that? Yeah, replace them with generative AI. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, if you want a copy of the deck, feel free to email me. And also feel free to check out this free ungated resource that we put together at Top Rank about how ChatGPT is going to help revolutionize the B2B marketing world. Thank you very much.